how the proposal of the basic income has evolved from since you founded the Basic Income European Network in 1986, please.
In 1986, there were just a few people in Europe who had started thinking about the idea, and most other people thought they were just lunatics, that it didn't make any sense. Then bit by bit, more and more people started thinking about the idea. But it's really only in the last few years, since 2016, that the idea really took off. And so you had a number of events that might not have happened, but did happen, like the Swiss referendum, a French presidential candidate who made it the essential proposal. You had the Finnish experiments. You now have Andrew Yang in the United States who is proposing the idea. And so that these are only, yeah, so the really all over the place you have pilot studies, you have this experiment which Mônica and Eduardo have been visiting in Kenya, and these are only just a few of the many things that are happening around the world and which reflect this unprecedented popularity of the idea now in many, many countries. So there is no comparison between the 1986, when a few people had come to that idea, not fully trusting that idea, and now where there is really a very large movement in favor of that idea, partly for different reasons, very unequal depending on the country, but really no comparison with what we had in 1986 when we started.
Philippe, which are the main experiences that should be studied by those who want to study the basic income?
Well, I really think that the pilot, as they are called, or the experiments, differ greatly. And for example, the pilot study, so the experiment that very rigorously followed, that took place in Madhya Pradesh in India, is interesting for a number of countries, but completely irrelevant for the introduction of a basic income in a country which already has a developed welfare state. So it's wrong to sort of say, well, look at how well it works in Madhya Pradesh, and therefore it will also be good for Finland. This is absurd, because what is being introduced in Madhya Pradesh is essentially what already exists in Finland in the form of a means-tested conditional minimum income. So there is very little poverty in Finland because there is already a system in place. Similarly, the experiment in Finland has very little to say about what could be done in India or in Brazil or in Kenya. So I really think that there are several experiments that
How relevant is the experience of Alaska?
Then, apart from the experiments, there is the real life experience, and so the longest real life experience we have of a real basic income for all adults, not only the old, which we have in a number of countries, not only for the young, the children, which we have universal child benefit in many countries, but the only real experience we have of a basic income, universal basic income for all adults, is Alaska.
Your presence in Brazil several times, an important factor for the development of the Bolsa Família program, because I remember so well the meeting that you had, an audience with President Fernando Henrique Cardoso, when the Bolsa Escola became a law. But also you were present at the ceremony of sanctioning of the basic income, the Citizens Basic Income Law, sanctioned by President Lula in January 2004, 15 years ago. Do you believe that Brazil might soon have a citizens' basic income? Or? already?
Yeah, well, I have wonderful memories of Brazil, and including the two moments you mentioned, where I was at that time impressed also by the quality of the political personnel at the top of the Brazilian state. Unfortunately, I would probably not say the same today. One of the unforgettable moments was also when we went together to Santos during
The campaign
the
by
first
President
victorious campaign of Lula, and where he gave, you gave a speech, and other major leaders of the PT gave speeches, and then it finished with a speech by Lula, the main theme of which was, please don't give us alms, give us jobs. And knowing that he was there, it was also a message to you to indicate that it was more important to have a job than to have an income. He gave this anecdote, which he often used, about the importance it was when he was a child to show that he had work more important than the fact that he had an income. But of course, what Lula and other people elsewhere in the world, but in Brazil, need to understand that a basic income is not an alternative to the right to work. It's a way of providing income security without creating a relationship of dependence. And because unavoidably any form of minimum income, any form of social protection that is means tested, that is focused on the poor, creates a trap of dependency. It says you receive this basic income, you receive this benefit for the poor, social assistance, only if you are poor. But that doesn't give it the same security nor the same encouragement to work as a basic income. Basic income is a floor on which you can stand, whereas the standard sort of social assistance, including Bolsa Familia, is rather a safety net in which you can get stuck and which has holes because many people who are entitled to it don't get it. I remember there was something called the Busca in Brazil, which was the attempt to try to find all the people entitled to it, but it's a hopeless job in that sort of. Nonetheless, the Bolsa Familia, that was framed also, that the law, the 2004 Basic Income Law helped frame, Bolsa Familia is an important step. And so we shouldn't say, because it's not a pure basic income, it's not worth doing. It modifies the life, it improves the lives of many people, but we must still be guided by the sort of realistic utopia of a real basic income. Will it come soon? That was your question. Contrary to Eduardo, I'm a short-term pessimist. Eduardo has a tendency to say, if it's not this year, it will be next year. My tendency is, no, it won't be next year, it won't be within 5 years.
But I have a good news for you. Next year, at the end of next year, the city of Mônica, 153,000 inhabitants today, that has just paid 130 reais or mumbucas to 1/3 of the population, they will be paying to the whole population 100% at the end of next year, 130 mumbucas or reais per person, at all, 100%. So I hope you visit Mônica in your next visit to Brazil.
Okay, Eduardo, this proves my point, you see, because I was pessimistic. I thought Mônica would never do that. And so this is a good surprise. And because I'm a pessimist, my life is full of good surprises, and this is one.
Very nice. Thank you very much, Philippe.
Thank you to you.